The date is March 29th, 2020. The time, 12:24. Now, lately, with all the coronavirus stuff going on, I've had a lot more free time than usual. And so I've been using my free time, like a smart, responsible adult, to catch up on Twitch streams and VODs. Well, one streamer specifically, Ludwig.
Boys! Oh my god, what the... Holy shit!
Lately, he's been doing these Super Mario 64 runs that are like super... the runs are crazy. I mean, 16 stars? Beating the game with 16 stars? I remember when I was a kid, Super Mario 64 took months to beat, but he can run it in 1 hour. Less than an hour. Ludwig's PB is 1911, last time I checked. A game that took me weeks, months, years. I don't think it took years. To beat as a child took him less than 20 minutes. So, where do I come into this? There was a stream where Ludwig said something that really caught my interest.
It's very easy to beat this game in 30 minutes or less. I think it would take it would take a day. If you guys all tried picking up this game and tried beating it in 30 minutes, it would take you literally a day.
Now, I don't know how true this is. I've never tried to speedrun the game. I really don't have any grasp of how difficult it is. Now, of course, before speedrunning, I didn't know you could beat the game without getting, 70 stars? I know there's 120 stars in the game, but you can definitely beat it way before that. I think it's 70 stars. And so to be able to beat it with 16 stars, I guess that makes sense that you could beat it in less than a half hour. But the real question is that something I can do with only a day of practice? Is that something anybody could do with just a day of practice? Well, I'm here today to help you find out. I've gotten my emulator and my controller all ready. I've got my route set up. But before I do that, I'd like to talk about how I plan on beating this and my expectations and predictions for this half-hour run. Now, in this image here, you can see the routes that I plan to use to beat the game. Now, I get that it's all kind of a colorful barf right now, but don't worry, I'll explain. This is the route I plan to use to beat the 16-star run. Now, if this looks familiar, then you'll realize that this is the same exact route that Ludwig takes to beat the run. It seemed like he was specifically talking about his route, so I figured I'll stick to that. If you've played the game, you understand that these titles for the levels are not really what they're called. Dire Docks, sure. Lava Tile Red Coins, maybe, I don't remember. But these are all really just the names that I came up with for the levels to help me remember what I'm supposed to do. And to explain the colors, green means I think it'll be relatively easy. Blue Star Coin, Whomp Murderer, the Tower Coin, Owl, Bowser 1, Lava Tile Red Coins, Toad Star, and Dire Docks I think will all be fairly easy. And if not easy, I think that they'll be recoverable if I do them poorly. Now, in the top left, you'll see that the Chain Chomp Star is blue, and that's because I think that's pretty much, other than the Toad Star, which I thought would be unfair to label the easiest, I think Chain Chomp Star will be the easiest. That's because even if you miss the bomb clip, you can just go and hammer down the Chain Chomp pretty quick. Now, moving on in difficulty here, we get to yellow. Cannonless, Pyramid, Elevator Wall Glitch, Wall Jump 1, Wall Jump 2, MIPS, and the BLJ Long Jump, I think are all going to need a little bit of practice at least. Now, moving on in difficulty once again is the red category. The Penguin Off the Cliff, the Cliff Jump, which are two different things, I promise, the Boing Star, Bowser 2, and the BLJ, but the short staircase. I think all of those stars are going to be pretty difficult. They're at least going to take like a half hour of practice each. But then moving on finally, you'll notice on the bottom right, Bowser 3 is in this purpley pinkish color. That's because I think Bowser 3 is definitely going to be the hardest part of this run. There's a lot of tight timings, and I think what I'm going to do for it is kind of take some easier ways through so that I don't waste time dying. So, if Ludwig beats the game in 19 minutes, that gives us an extra 11 minutes to work with to beat the game. So, it is now 12:35 at 1 p.m. I will start my timer for the next 24 hours and do nothing but play Super Mario 64 and practice, and practice. And at the end of the timer, once it's beeped, the 24 hours is up. Tomorrow, at 1 p.m., I will complete one run, just one, of Super Mario 64. And if I can complete the game in less than 30 minutes, then the challenge has been completed. But if I go 1 second over 30 minutes, the challenge is a failure. So, I'll see you guys at 1. Now, the first thing you'll see when you start up your save file is Lakitu flying around the castle, just showing you what the game kinda looks like and what you're working with. This cutscene lasts about 50 seconds, and when you're doing consecutive runs that keep having to reset, it gets kind of annoying to watch, but it's also kinda nice to have a little break in between runs. After this cutscene is actually your first skip. It's called Lakitu Skip. Basically, the goal is to jump over to this bridge, and you want to jump onto the very side of the bridge. If you hit the pixels right, you can skip this whole little cutscene here with Lakitu. Now, this being my first time, I didn't get it, but it only lasts about 10 or so seconds, so it's not a huge loss. And now, right now, I'm not actually running the game, I'm just practicing, so it's not a big deal if I don't get any of these skips. Next thing you want to do is run over to the side door and get into Bob-omb Battlefield. Now, I predicted this level was going to be the easiest, and I was wrong. sorely wrong. The first thing you gotta do is grab this bomb, toss the bomb, catch the bomb, fly backwards, and clip through the gate. It's kind of crazy, and as you can see here, I'm not doing too hot. Basically, if you don't know the timing, it's going to be impossible. As you can see, I'm jumping and then throwing the bomb. What you have to do is you have to jump and throw the bomb, yes, but you have to throw the bomb about the same time you jump, so you can land right behind it, grab the bomb, and slide to the gate. This took me about 10-15 minutes to understand, and yes, I stopped in the middle to watch a YouTube video. Yes! Yes! Woo-hoo-hoo! Now, with our first star in hand, we head on to Whomps Fortress. In Whomps, we have to get 5 more stars. And none of the stars are incredibly hard, but they all take some execution, and it's one of the longer levels because you have to get 5 total stars. Now, the hardest trick easily in Whomps Fortress, at least for me, is cannonless. Now, cannonless was my first huge challenge. I mean, it took me about 20 minutes to figure out. And even once I finally got it, it wasn't very consistent. I think my biggest problem with it was that I didn't quite understand it. I was trying to grab the star, but I wasn't using the camera right. You have to move the camera in a certain way to make sure that you're going to be lined up right to grab the star. Again, it's a very tight spot to grab that star. So if you don't have everything just right, you're not going to get it. The next star is what I call the blue coin star, because there's this little blue coin button next to it. Now, I predicted that Bob-omb's Battlefield would be the easiest star, but this is definitely it. All you have to do is wall jump and grab the star. That's it. That's all it really takes. The next star after that is a little bit tougher. You climb up the ramp, jump up the wall, and meet Whomp. I don't know what his name is. I'm just calling him Whomp. Basically, this giant douchebag just flops on top of you, and all you gotta do is ground pound on his back to grab the star. It's actually pretty easy. The next star after that actually gave me a surprising amount of trouble. I call it the tower star. Basically, you go back up to where you just fought Whomp, and climb this tower to grab the star at the top. Now, you can do it an easy way by jumping up all the platforms that loop around, but the quickest way is to use side flipping and wall jumping to hop up onto this platform that carries you to the star. The only really difficult part about this star is getting the side flip to line up because the platform's kind of small. The last star is the owl star. All you have to do is climb this tree, grab this owl, and drop into this little box thing here. Now, the tricky part about this one is just lining up the drop. This one I definitely practiced several times to make sure I would not miss that island, because if you do, it's a huge time waste. Once I figured out all the stars for Whomps, I started doing Bob-omb Battlefield and then Whomps all together to make sure that I actually knew how to do everything. I'm glad that I did it this way because I was getting used to doing all the stars in order. But now, with Whomps out of the way, we'll move on to Cool Mountain. Now, I'm not the first to say it, and I know I won't be the last, but fuck this penguin, man. Oh, I hate this thing. He just whines, and he runs, and he slides around for no reason, and he's... Don't walk off, don't walk off. Hey, whoa. No, you little fucking whore, you should have died, not me. Now, in Cool Mountain, you only need 2 stars. Basically, for the first star, you grab the penguin, jump off the side of this mountain, slide down the mountain, and bring him right to his mom. I know it looks kind of crazy, but it's actually not that hard. I just was doing it wrong for like a long time. because I didn't understand that you didn't have to jump. All you have to do is slide off and then ride the mountain down. It'll bring you right to the mom and you're done. The last star for Cool Cool Mountain is also not as hard as it looks. You just jump off from up here, land down here, you do a backflip off of this cliff, wall jump, dive, and land onto this platform. Well, either platform actually. It doesn't really matter. If you land on the top platform, it's faster, but if you land a little under it, it's not that big of a deal. As soon as you're down there, it's pretty easy. You just grab the star and you move on with your life. Now, we've got 8 stars. We're halfway through our 16, but I wouldn't say halfway through the run. We can call it halfway through the run as soon as we beat Bowser for the first time. Now, I predicted that this level would be pretty easy because I've played this game a lot as a kid and I was pretty good at this level. And mostly, I was right. It's not that hard, it's just kind of slow if you do it wrong. There's not a huge risk of dying, but there is a lot of time saves in this world that make it a whole lot faster. So you can either do it slow and safe, or fast and like medium safe. Honestly, the hardest part of this level is hitting the Bowser throw just right. I've always been pretty bad at Bowser throws, so I was really nervous when it came to that. But, I mean, I think with enough practice, I got it down pretty good. Bowser in the Dark World, I really only practiced a couple times, and I felt pretty comfortable with it. I didn't think it would be a huge roadblock for me in my runs, and honestly, I was right. Now that I had learned Cool Cool Mountain and Bowser in the Dark World, it was time to put Bob-omb Battlefield, Whomps Fortress, Cool Cool Mountain, and Bowser 1 all together. This pretty much makes up for half the run. Though typically the first half is shorter because a lot of it is much more condensed than the second half. Now this world, oh boy, this world definitely took me the most practice. I was using save states to try and get this bowling, but damn it, I just kept dying. It's a really tight timing and kind of a strange angle, and even now, it gives me huge trouble after all that practice. Dude, I have no fucking depth perception. It's wild. It's crazy. I can't tell where it is. I have to just fucking grip it and rip it, and it never hits. And then that thing's always too far away. This world is by far my least favorite part of the run. But after 30 or so tries, I was finally able to get it bowling and hit the bird. All you gotta do is tap the star that the bird's holding, and he'll drop it. Now, technically you're not really supposed to be able to do it that fast, so it counts as a glitch, kind of? More of an exploit, I would say. Now, in hindsight, the second one is really easy. But oh my god, it took me longer than the hard one. Like one of the hardest stars in the run. It took me like twice that, minimum. It sucks. Well, it sucked. It's easy now. Essentially, all you have to do is jump over this big sand dune and grab the star at the top of this pyramid. But for some reason, I just couldn't do it. I didn't realize that you had to triple jump and then jump again and then dive. It's actually really easy. I think all you have to do is have the knowledge. But I didn't quite understand how to do it, and it took me longer than I'd like to admit. Now, the next world, Lavalava Land, is actually a whole lot easier than the last one. Now, like I said, it looks kind of scary because you have to burn your butt and then land and then jump, but it's really not that bad. After Lavalava Land, you head over to this door and get into Hazy Maze Cave. Now, during practice, I fucking hated Hazy Maze Cave. Even as a kid, something about this stage is just ugly and gross and weird, and I don't really like the music, and the only cool part was Metal Mario, and he's not a part of this run. So the first thing you gotta do is grab this star on top of this platform. The only hard part is getting up to the platform. So the first thing you gotta do is jump off this wall onto this platform, and then once you're up there, it's a pretty easy long jump to grab the star. I tried to do it Ludwig's way of just kind of double jumping onto the wall and then wall jumping, but for some reason I was really struggling with that, so I learned this little setup where I could touch the wall, run back, side flip, get on this platform, and then long jump to the star. And fortunately, the second one is even easier. All you gotta do is avoid falling in this giant hole, get over to where the boulders roll, not get hit by the boulders, and then just do a little wall jumping and grab the star. It's probably the second easiest star after that blue coin star. Now, after grabbing this star, you come out of the world and you actually just go talk to Toad, and Toad gives you a star. It's pretty neat. I would call it the easiest star in the game, but it doesn't really count, so I'm gonna keep calling that blue star coin the easiest star. Now, the final star in Hazy Maze Cave is kind of confusing. You go back to the area we've been, go off to the side, get through this door, and you enter a room with an elevator. The goal is to get on the elevator, fall off the elevator, and position yourself under the elevator so that it'll push you right through the wall. I'm sure there's a very specific reason for why this happens, but for the life of me, I can't figure it out. But technically, as long as you don't go through the elevator, this star is really easy. And that's Hazy Maze Cave. We've got 15 stars, and it's time for the game-breaking glitch, Mip Skip. Now, Mips is this bunny. What we can do with Mips is pick him up, bring him to this door, and you position yourself in a way that when you drop Mips, it'll push you through the door. Now, you don't just want to go through this first door. No, that would be too easy. You have to go through the door in a way that you can turn around and grab Mips again so that you can push yourself through this door. For the second door, you don't have to pick Mips back up, so it's a whole lot easier to position yourself because it's much more forgiving. Now, when you grab Mips, he drops this star, and I know what you're thinking. I grab this star and I have my 16. But you actually don't need this star, because there's another star we're gonna have to grab. Before we get to Bowser in the Fire Sea, we have to go through Dire Dire Docks, because, you know, there's a wall. Dire Dire Docks is just a level where you swim to the submarine, jump up it, and grab a star. I was expecting that Dire Dire Docks would be really easy, but there's actually kind of a tight timing for this little side flip here. And that's it. That's 16 stars. Run's over. Not. We still have to beat the game, so don't get too excited. We've got our stars, yes, but there's still 2 more levels we gotta get through, and 2 major glitches we have to use to get there. Right after beating Dire Dire Docks, you head into Bowser 2, Bowser and the Fire Sea. For some reason, nothing was clicking on this stage. Getting the star to be fast is like exactly as hard as it looks. Now, this is kind of the next hard part. You have to get from this platform all the way to Bowser. And I know that sounds obvious. You just, you know, platform through the level. But you can actually just skip it by long jumping onto the side of the lava. I know, it's fucking nuts. You can skip the entire thing and just long jump forward through it. It takes some practice and some lining up, but that part, I swear, is easier than the start. Now, the fight with Bowser the second time is definitely harder than the first time, but definitely not that hard. When you start off, stay dead still, wait for him to do his little fucking stage thing, and then jump clear over his head, land behind him, and toss him into the bomb. And that's Bowser 2. It's pretty clear cut and dry. As soon as we get back to the main lobby, run up these stairs, unlock this door, and climb up this staircase. I know there's a glitch where you can get through the little ceiling part here, but for me it's just not worth doing because it only saves about a second, maybe second and a half. Now here is the biggest glitch in the game. BLJ. Backwards, long jumps. Basically, you have to break the game. What you're doing is long jumping, holding backwards, and you have to long jump as soon as you hit each step. It doesn't really make that much sense, and I'm sure there's videos out there to explain it much better, but just know that all you have to do is long jump up these stairs backwards at the right timing, mash A, and it'll send you straight through this door. Then you go up to the 70-star door. You don't need to do anything crazy to get through this door. The game actually just taunts you here. If you make it to this door before you have 70 stars, this staircase here will go on forever. And no, it's not just a really long staircase. It just repeats the first part of it infinitely. So it's impossible to get up, at least through normal methods. Through using BLJs, you can fly up the staircase and break the game. Again. And as soon as you're up here, you jump into this pit and you fight Bowser for the 3rd time. Bowser in the sky. Now, the actual platforming for this level isn't crazy hard, but there are some spots that'll lose you a lot of time if you mess them up. Specifically, this little part here. Now, I don't know how to do this level completely right. I'm kind of figuring it out my own way, but this is really the only part that I struggle with. As soon as you're through this part, the next parts aren't really that hard. Except, well, for the hardest part of the game. Beating Bowser. Again. Again. Now, this is the very end of the game. As soon as you grab the star he drops, the run is over. You can put your controller down and, well, you can do whatever you want at that point. So why do I call this the hardest part of the run? Because you don't have to just throw Bowser once. You have to throw him 3 times. I will admit, this is my worst part of the run by far. And what I mean by my worst is this is the part that takes me the longest. But with enough practice and enough luck, you can beat the game with only 16 stars. Like I said, you grab this star and the game's over. That means through all my practice, I've beaten the game. And this is only my first time through. Now, at this point in what you're watching, I'm about 3 hours into my practice. I started at 1 p.m., but in between I took a couple breaks, so at this point, it's about 7 p.m. Now, typically on Sundays, I stream at 7, and at this point in the day, it felt too late to stream. But I figured, what could it hurt to stream a little bit of practice, right? I thought maybe this would be kind of exciting, playing a game that I've never played on stream before. So I booted up the stream and decided to just do one full run to see what my total time is right now. I used all the tricks I could remember, messed up plenty, and definitely did not hit my sub 30 goal. My first run was 36:15. I was actually only 6 minutes away. With only a couple hours of practice, I was much closer than I thought I would be. That just means I gotta shave off a little over 6 minutes. And if you were to watch that whole speed run, you would know that that was doable. After my 36-minute run, I went on a lot of runs. But this run was much closer to sub 30. 31:44 to be exact. I knew I might just be able to take the time down tonight. Now, before I keep talking here, remember, my original goal was to play for 24 hours, and then at the end of the 24 hours, do a run and see if I could get sub 30. But on this stream, I realized I might not need 24 hours. Only a couple hours in, and I was almost sub 30. I was getting much more comfortable and much faster with my route, until I got on this run here. On this run, I was doing pretty well. I did great with MIPS, getting through both doors on my first try. I got through Bowser 2 not incredibly fast, and then it all came down to my BLJs. Now, a really dumb part on my end was not practicing BLJs a lot. I should have practiced them much more, because if I had, I might have gotten this run sub 30. Instead, I spent about 5 minutes just trying to get through the first BLJ. Thankfully, my second BLJ was a lot faster, but at this point, I had already lost a lot of time. By the time I got to Bowser, there was little hope that this was gonna sub 30. Bowser taunted me, and taunted me, and taunted me. Honestly, after this run, I was a little discouraged. I figured I'd just do one more run, and if I couldn't get it on that, I would head to bed and try again the next day. But something happened during that next run. I got a raid of about 10 people. Now, I'm not a big streamer, so I was really excited when I got that raid. I talked to the guys a little bit about what I was doing, and they seemed kind of excited about it. I figured with these guys watching, maybe I should do a little bit more. That's right, one more run. And that raid, well, that raid was the difference. I was hitting my tricks pretty well, and I felt pretty good about the whole thing. Thankfully, I had learned from last time how to do the BLJs just a little bit better, and this time it didn't take me 5 minutes. No, in fact, I was into Bowser 3 with over 7 minutes to spare. That means all I had to do was clutch out Bowser 3, and that was it. I had beaten the game. I missed throw after throw after throw. Hell, on my final throw, I even died. But in just 9 hours, I was able to beat Super Mario 64 in 28 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, God knows, this run was far from perfect. I still had so many places I could improve. But the goal was met, sub 30 minutes. At the end of the day, this challenge taught me a lot about myself. What kind of tricks I was good at, what kind of tricks I was bad at, how I was able to deal with the stress, but mostly, I learned that I fucking suck at these Bowser throws. Oh my, no. But for real, this was a really fun challenge. Going into it, I really wasn't expecting to beat it sub 30 in one day. I won't lie, my confidence level was low. Turns out with some practice, you get better at things. Who knew? In fact, later that night, I did another run and took my time from a 28-minute to a 26-minute something. I can't remember it exactly. And that was all on March 29th. The date of this recording is April 2nd, and my time is now down to a 21:44. Now, I'd briefly like to go over the chart that I showed at the beginning of this video. I won't go over every single level, but I will circle the ones that I was wrong about, and the circle will be colored with how that level actually was. The Chain Chomp star, or the Bomb Clip star, was definitely not the easiest. In fact, it's one that I still struggle with right now. No, the easiest goes to the blue star coin. And unfortunately, I was correct about Bowser 3. The hardest part isn't the level. The hardest part is hitting all of those throws. Now, the rest of them I was pretty close to. None of them were like crazy far off, but not all of them were dead on. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with this challenge, and hopefully you had fun watching. I'd love to do another challenge like this, and if you have a game that you think would be fun for me to try out, let me know. I'm down to try some different kinds of things, not just Nintendo related. And I do have to thank Ludwig for the idea. No, he didn't tell me to make the video, but he did put the video idea in my brain. And you know what? He was right. I could do it in sub 30. Not just in one day. Hell, not even in 12 hours. It took less than 10 hours for me to beat this game in sub 30. Now, I'm not some god or some great video game player, I'm just your average Joe. So, I recommend that you try this out for yourself. Seriously, I'd really like to see how you guys do with this challenge. Give yourself 24 hours to just try and beat the game in less than 30 minutes. Watch some YouTube videos. Watch some Ludwig. Hell, watch this video. I went over every star. If you do a run for yourself, make a video about it. You can share it with me on Twitter at Merlin_SSB, and if you liked my content, subscribe to the channel. But more importantly, go check out my Twitch. We're shooting for that sub 20, baby. But seriously, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. GG's, everybody.